The executioners come to town.
Alright, welcome back to another Embrace Destiny video, everyone. Thank you so much for clicking that link and joining us. Today's video is all about Gambit, the newest game mode coming to Destiny 2 Forsaken, launching tomorrow, but one with which we had a free trial period this past weekend. Today's video is all about what Gambit is, how it works, talking about some strategy, my thoughts on it, and some things that could be improved, and how we are looking toward the future together here. So in case you're unfamiliar, Gambit is the newest game mode coming to Destiny 2. It has been called a PvEVP mode, which means it's a combination of player versus environment and player versus player. So in Destiny terms, it's a combination of kind of a horde mode where you're facing off against enemies of humanity, as well as the Crucible where you're facing off against other Guardians. Now the way that the objective overall works is two teams of 4 appear on opposite maps, and they have to fight enemies of humanity, in this case the Fallen, to collect moats, these little pyramids of light that are dropping on the ground. If your team collects 75 of them and turns them into the center platform, banks them, then you summon a Taken Primeval, a large boss. Defeat your Primeval before the enemy team defeats theirs, and you win the match. And that's pretty much it in terms of the overall strategy, but that simple premise brings a lot of really interesting variation, a lot of strategy, and yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit more here. First, let's talk a little bit more about the visual. There's a lot of information going on, and a lot of it is represented visually here. On the left, you can see the number of moats that I've collected, only 3 at this point, and at the top you can see some status bars that are gray and red with some numbers next to them. So the colored portion, the red portion, lets us know that the enemy has dropped off a number of moats. You can see the number is 7, whereas we have not banked any at all because we're being blocked by this enemy here. See, I'm about to bank 6. The gray bar indicates how many moats the team has picked up but has not turned in, has not banked. This is really important information that's going to come up in a number of different ways later. Now you may be wondering, why would you collect and not bank if the whole point is to bank them to summon the Primeval? Well, it's because banking, turning them in at the center, there's a lot of strategy behind it. Simply put, banking 1 or 2 moats really doesn't make much of a difference, but if you drop them in intervals of 5, 10, or 15, you summon a blocker. You summon a taken enemy to appear over the bank on the enemy side, preventing them from depositing any at the bank. So here, I drop some in. Boom, a medium blocker gets sent over. The enemy can no longer drop any off in the center. So you got strategies here where another thing to keep in mind is just because you want to get moats doesn't mean that it may be most effective for you. In this gameplay here, I'm actually concentrating on just killing the enemies, being a PvE monster. And I'm not really focused on picking up too many moats. See, I turned away from a few there. The reason I'm doing this is because I noticed that most of my team had more moats, and I wanted to create as many as I could for them without stealing any of theirs. They are unique. They are provided to the entire team, so if you pick up a moat and your ally wants to pick up the same one, you've effectively stolen it from him. And again, because you're trying to drop off moats in these intervals of 5, 10, and 15, it might be better to just leave them until an ally with 13 moats can pick up the final 2, rather than you running around the field with 2 useless ones that don't really serve any purpose. Now, on top of that here, we're moving pretty quickly because the matchmaking was actually turned off for this game mode. So unfortunately, the enemy team only has 2 players on their team. But it is something that they're going to be turning back on once Gambit goes live again tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be good to have people brought in. Helps for solo queuers as well. Now, this game mode is focused mostly on the PvE aspect of things, but a lot of people are really excited by the merging of PvE and PvP. We'll see that in the next game mode, but if you see up at the top in the yellow bar, once your team has banked 25, 50, or 75 moats, the portal, which is just to my left here, the ring that's usually going red, will open up and allow you to invade. We're going to see that in the next gameplay clip here. while we're here, let's talk a little bit about strategy and some ways to take out the Primeval. On an aside, I'm going to say that I'm really enjoying the new changes to the rally barricade. In case you missed it last week, you no longer have to crouch behind the rally barricade in order for it to refill your ammo, which is allowing me to basically just drill into a laser beam here for the Primeval. So that's pretty awesome. Some things I didn't realize while I was playing, but I only learned after. You can see on the bottom left there, Primeval Slayer times 7. Essentially what you want to do when you're working on the Primeval is take out his lieutenants first. Taking out their lieutenants gives you a buff, and it's a maximum of times 10. The greater the buff, the greater damage output you can have on the Primeval. I didn't realize this and was basically just trying to focus fire on the Primeval while avoiding the enemy fire. Some strategies that are already popping up. Ward of Dawn is really great for blocking. It's really great for stopping invaders from being able to eliminate your team. It's good for getting you close enough to the Primeval without taking so much damage. Someone mentioned on Reddit actually bringing the Ward of Dawn to the enemy side and putting the Ward of Dawn over the Primeval, which I think is just brutal. But I'd love to see if that's something that we could actually pull off. The Sleeper Simulant is a very popular and strong weapon here right now because it's very effective versus the Primeval, but also when you invade, it essentially becomes an over-penetrating sniper rifle. So some people are already calling for a nerf, but I don't think that'll be necessary. You just have to keep yourself aware of what's going on. Speaking of that, I really like the Drifter, the NPC introduced for this game mode. The callouts that he's giving are informative, helpful, and I found myself really relying on his audio cues rather than looking at information on my screen. So that was great. It was telling me where the enemies were, when the enemy was invading, how many moats I have, and how many I can turn in. He's also just a really great character. He's got a lot of personality to him, interesting amount of history, and honestly, I'm really looking forward to learning more about him. In case you missed it, the Joker's Wild season as part of the annual pass that's coming with Forsaken will be focusing mostly on the Drifter and going into his past, his motivations, and yeah, I'm just lore speaking. I'm excited to learn more about what that means. Now let's talk a little bit about invading and some strategies here. When the invader crosses through, they are able to actually see their enemy. They're able to see all 4 of the players on the enemy team and how many moats that they have next to them. Just like I'm able to see how many my allies have, he's able to see how many they have. And obviously you want to prioritize taking out enemies that have more moats, because once you drop a Guardian and his moats, he is unable to retrieve them. So a good strategy is invade, find somebody with times 10, times 15 moats, take them out, as well as coordinate when you place your blockers. A lot of times we're holding on to blockers because we're trying to wait for the perfect moment. If you drop a blocker at the right time, the enemy team will be entirely focused and taking damage from them, and won't be as focused on finding you, and you're able to kind of snipe from a distance or rely on that cover. I really like the fact that when you invade, also the enemy team doesn't like the enemy. How do I describe this? The Fallen, the Cabal, etc. They do not focus on you at all. They completely ignore you, and they work on defeating the same team that you're working on. I think that's really interesting and a lot of fun, and it was kind of cool to sneak around behind the the Fallen, the Cabal, and kind of approach with them. From the enemy's perspective, when they look at you, if they have a clear line of sight, they can see you very clearly, because when you invade, you have this reddish, very strong glowing aura of an outline on you. However, in terms of radar, you appear the same way on the radar as any Fallen or Cabal or other kind of threat. So there's a lot of really good strategy here that you can get in. We're about to see it actually coming up. So you see, I sent a blocker to the other side. The enemy's going to be dealing with it. They've already summoned their Primeval, so we're a bit behind here. It's already at half. And once I clear this corner, I'll look up, and you can see, they all have times 0 because they have already summoned their Primeval, so I don't have to worry about dropping their moats. But as it says in the middle, and has been chanted on Destiny Reddit for a while, death heals Primeval. Every time I kill one of these Guardians, their death heals their primeval in the middle. So I was able to bring his health back up by about 50%, giving my team more time. Of course, I wasn't here to help them with moats and such, but this is one thing I really like about this game mode, is that there's a lot of variation. There's a lot of strategy involved. When I was playing with members of my clan, we had one person who was entirely dedicated to jumping through that portal and messing up the enemy team. He killed something like 22 guardians, meaning he pretty much wiped their team like 5 times plus. I was focused mostly on just killing the enemies. A few of them were focused more on blockers, the guys in the middle, and picking up moats. So really excellent game mode. I'm really liking this. I heard a lot about it over the last couple of months, mostly from streamers and such who had an opportunity to play it early, as well as at conventions and things like this. But it's definitely living up to the excitement. Currently, this trial here only came with 2 enemy types on 1 map, but apparently there will be 4 maps, 3 enemy types, with 3 variations on every map, offering 36 different experiences, as well as loot and progression and all of that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that means, and what kind of medals and what kind of awards you can actually earn. Maybe there will be armor or weapons that will make you more effective in Gambit. Anyway, that's going to wrap up my video for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to like and subscribe or comment on this video, feel free to do any of that below. I'm going to be playing a bit of Forsaken tomorrow, but I'm not going to be streaming it. I think I'm going to record a bunch of it and then make kind of a retroactive, reflective video of it after. Anyway, thank you all very much again. I hope you're having a great time. Can't wait for Forsaken, and we'll catch you all out there. Bye now.